Hello. Hello. Oh, you know what? Let me just do this real quick. Get some more light. There we go. Hey! You can see me a lot better, right? Ooh, look at that. I have a new setup. It's kind of fancy, guys. I spent $35. I got a ring light with a stand, the whole works. So, good morning, everybody. Sorry, we're starting a little later than usual, but my workout was a little longer than I thought, and I did some stretching and just centering myself after. I think, after you work out, you get this rush of adrenaline and dopamine, serotonin, all the good neurotransmitters that make you feel good. But for me, it's really important after a workout that I center myself and ground myself, and just stretch it all out. I do about 5 to 10 minutes of stretching after every workout. So, all right, you guys, let's start with our affirmation. Our first affirmation. We're going to do 5 more at the end of this. But let's start. We'll say it 3 times. Repeat after me. I am more than my current situation. I am more than my current situation. I am more than my current situation. So I think that since we're talking about anxiety today, I wanted to say that affirmation. So when you have anxiety and it's in the moment and you're having all these overwhelming feelings, just know that you are more than what you're experiencing right now. Like, your current situation doesn't define who you are, and it's not going to control your life and dictate who you are. You are more than just what you're experiencing right now. So, little update, and then we'll jump into our topic. I have a couple questions for you. Instead of doing an update where I talk about just myself, I'm going to try to ask you guys some questions so it can engage you more and hopefully give you a little insight into yourself. So I did a prayer this morning. I haven't said this, but I'm doing a devotional called 100 Days to Brave by Annie Downs. It was really popular last year, and I got it for Christmas from my brother. Thank you, Chris. And so I'm doing 100 Days to Brave, and today was about prayer. So, obviously I respect you guys. If you don't believe in God, or, if you're not spiritual, that's totally fine. I still think there's a source energy in the universe. If you don't believe it's God, that's totally okay. But I prayed to God because that's what I believe in. And I was doing a prayer to ask him for all my dreams to come true. So how does this relate to anxiety? So what I want to ask you is about your dreams. What would you do if anxiety wasn't holding you back? Just think about that. Think about your big dreams in life. And how does anxiety get in the way? How does anxiety hold you back? What would you do if anxiety wasn't holding you back from achieving your dream? Think about it. I have another question for you. How would you spend the extra time you would have if you didn't have the anxiety? So if you didn't have this overwhelming anxiety, which prevents you from doing things you like doing, what would you do with that extra time if you didn't have all this anxiety? Just think about it. What are the possibilities, right? So just a couple questions for you to think about. So if you notice today, it's part 2 of a 4-part series. It was going to be a 3-part series. Yesterday episode 12 was part 1. But I decided to change it to 4 parts because I came up with more tools that I think will be helpful for you. Because with anxiety, you need a multitude, all the tools in the bucket that you can get to deal with it. Because not everything works for everyone. So I'm going to give you I think there's a total of 9 or 10 tools total to help deal with your anxiety. So just pick a couple that try them out and see if they work for you, because everybody's different, and that's why I want to give you so many different tools, because and the anxiety is different for everyone, and I want to help you guys use what's best for you. Okay? So, all right. So, that's kind of like the first part when I want to talk about anxiety. So, although with anxiety, there's similar symptoms for everybody, and we'll go over some of the symptoms today, and we'll go over more symptoms in part 3 and 4. But the symptoms are similar, but it's unique and different to everyone. So the severity of the symptoms can be what is less severe for someone, like what's more manageable and someone can handle, might be completely overwhelming for somebody else, right? Like, we're all different. We all handle things differently. We all approach life differently. We all have had different experiences, and some of us have more trauma or less trauma to deal with. So going back to yesterday, trauma can be a source of anxiety. So that's why I mention it. I don't want to say what trauma because I don't want to trigger people. So the way we deal with our trauma can cause anxiety, and it can make it really bad and really hard to handle, or it can be just like a little bit, maybe, a certain situation or something just brings up a little anxiety for you or something. So I just want, we can connect. I have dealt with anxiety for decades. I can remember being a teenager and having anxiety, and a lot of people, this is why I want to do 4 parts on anxiety, because a lot of people experience it, right? And it could definitely be similar from one person to the next, but it could be totally different for people. So I just want you to know, you have to find what works for you, because everybody's anxiety is different. So that's why, again, I'm providing so many tools so you can find what works for you. So some of the symptoms, and like I said yesterday in episode 12, there's a bunch of different types of anxiety. I went over the different types of anxiety yesterday if you want to check that out. But the symptoms we're talking about and the anxiety we're talking about is technically called generalized anxiety disorder. So that is the medical term. That's what you're diagnosed with. You can be diagnosed with the other anxieties, but this is like the general one. This is in particular what I was diagnosed with, generalized anxiety disorder. And again, that's in the DSM, Diagnostic Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, which is the medical book used to diagnose people. Insert the disclaimer right here. I gotta say it, guys. I'm not diagnosing you. This is not a replacement for medical services. I'm not licensed to diagnose. This is based off my own experience and knowledge. In order to be diagnosed with a mental health disorder or mental health illness, you need to see a psychiatrist, a licensed counselor, or a licensed social worker, okay? So just gotta put that out there. All right, so some of the symptoms for generalized anxiety. The first one, this one's pretty obvious, and it's kind of funny because under the description of anxiety, one of the symptoms says anxiety. So it's hard to, I think anxiety is hard to describe sometimes because it is different for everybody. But a symptom of anxiety is anxiety. I just thought that was kind of funny. It's how do you describe it? It's sometimes indescribable, right? First symptom is anxiety or worry. So I think often anxiety stems from worry. And worrying is a symptom of anxiety. It's probably the most common, I would say. Again, it's different for people, but I would say the most common symptom for anxiety is the worry, because it really is a very anxiety is mental and physical. Don't get me wrong. It's both. It's totally mental and it manifests physically in your body. I totally believe that a lot of our physical symptoms are due to our mental health and anxiety and depression and stuff. So, we'll get more into the physical symptoms in part 3 and part 4. But worry is a mental thing. So the thoughts you have, if you're worrying a lot and you're like more of a person that worries a lot, you probably have more anxiety, because worry is thinking about what can go wrong, right? Or what bad thing can happen. And when you worry about that stuff, you're kind of predicting the future and worrying about something that hasn't happened yet. So there's a lot of scriptures in the Bible. If you are spiritual, believe in God, there's a lot of scriptures about worry. I recommend Matthew. I hope I remember this. I think it's Matthew chapter 6, verse 25 to 30. I want to say it's Matthew 6, 25 to, it might be Matthew 5, 25 to 30. I always get it mixed up. But there's a ton of scripture in the Bible, if you are spiritual, that talks about worrying and can kind of help you with changing your mindset around worrying. So I also would recommend, if one of your symptoms of anxiety is worry, and that you get some cognitive behavioral therapy, because that is like the mental therapy that changes the way you think. So your cognition's how you think, and then so your cognitive how you think changes your behavior, so cognitive behavior therapy. So I recommend, it's actually really good, or recommended for anxiety. I have personally done it. I've done it was a couple months long of CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, and it was really helpful at the time. But I didn't really retain a lot of that information. So anyway, I would recommend that if you struggle with anxiety, I would look into CBT. So that's kind of a bonus tool that you can use, is doing that therapy. But okay, so we'll get back to the symptoms. We might not be able to go over all the ones I want to today, but we'll get to them. So to be diagnosed, and again, this is not diagnosing you, but if you go to a doctor or a therapist, they will ask you, how long has this lasted? How long have you been experiencing these symptoms of anxiety? And to be diagnosed, it has to be at least 6 months or longer. So that seems like a long time, but really, like, if you have something happen in your life, like a very dramatic or traumatic thing that, you have to process it and deal with it, like usually, or not usually, but the time, if it's, sorry, I'm trying to like arrange my thoughts here. Sometimes I think faster than I talk. Do you guys do that? I don't know. Sometimes I just can't keep up with my thoughts. But what I'm trying to say is, if you have a situation happen to you, usually if you deal with it in a healthy manner, by 6 months, your symptoms will probably like subside or be less. And that's if you deal with, like, I'm saying that's if you deal with them in a healthy way, right? So if you cope with them, use your emotions and stuff. My dog has to go outside. Hold on just a second. All right, guys. Okay, sorry, guys. I thought you had to go outside. You want to come say hi? Come here. Come here. Okay, never mind. Bo, come inside. Sorry, guys. This is why live, you never know what's going to happen. Okay. Anyway, so back to the symptoms. So it has to be at least 6 months. The symptoms have to last at least 6 months. And the other criteria for that is it has to occur more often than not. So you have to be experiencing these symptoms on a regular basis, and you have to have them like more than a few days out of the week for it to be ongoing and considered diagnosable. Okay, so where are we at? Okay, so I'll just go over one more symptom and then we'll go over the rest on part 3 and part 4, episode 14 and probably 16. Okay, so another symptom or criteria for generalized anxiety is that it's difficult to control. I think we can all agree when you have anxiety, no matter what level it is, especially if it's elevated and very high, it's very difficult to control. And that is why I want to give you tools that are easy, that you can use in the moment, that you can use before, like preventatively, because once that anxiety hits, it's harder to do. Sorry, my dog is drinking water. I should just feature the dogs on the show. Anyway, if you look in my stories, my highlights, you can see my dogs. But, okay, so it's difficult to control. Once anxiety hits, it's very hard to do something to relieve it or to manage it. That's why I want to give you easy tools. And yesterday we went over the preventative tools for anxiety. So we talked about meditation and exercising or moving your body on a daily basis, and preferably in the morning because that's going to set the tone for your day. But those are kind of preventative for anxiety. So those are things that you do on a regular basis to control how bad your anxiety might be, or I mean, sometimes it's unpreventable. I'm not saying that you can fully 100% prevent it. That's not what I'm saying, because sometimes you just can't help it. Like, it just happens. Like, I know that from my experience. Like, if you guys see my stories and stuff, I exercise almost every single day, like 6 days a week. That's not where I started from. I started from exercising 2 to 3 days a week, then 3 to 4, and then 4 to 5, 5 to 6, and now I exercise 6 days a week. And even on days off, I'll even do yoga or stretching or something. So, I don't know where I was going. Oh, that's better, right? So even though I do those daily activities and I meditate, I don't meditate every day. I'm trying to get into the daily practice of meditating. I do it probably a few days a week right now. I'm trying to work my way up to eventually doing it every day of the week, even just for 5 minutes at a time. So even though you might do those daily practices, moving your body, exercising, and meditating every day, you still can get anxiety. Like, it can still happen. And I've definitely experienced that, especially like I've had panic attacks, even though I exercise that morning. Like, later on in the day, it just got really high or whatever happened. And, obviously I tried to relieve it and use the tools that I'm giving you to manage it, because that's the thing. When it's difficult to control, you want to learn how to manage it so that you can live your life, right? Because anxiety prevents you from living your life. Like, I truly believe that. That's what I've experienced, is it prevents you from doing the things you want to do. That's actually a symptom that we'll talk about tomorrow, is that it prevents you from doing things that you want to do in life, right? So that is why, to be technically have anxiety, it has to be difficult to control. Like, I don't know what other way to put that, but I think you guys can understand that, especially if you have anxiety. Like, I'm sure you get that. So anyway, we will go over the rest of the symptoms on part 3 and part 4, but I want to give you guys tools and then wrap this up with our affirmations. So the first tool I have is one. I've given you this for bipolar, for other, we haven't gone over very many mental health disorders, but this is a tool you can use for any mental health issue, even if you don't have a disorder, like even if you're not diagnosed, if you're just stressed more, or you are just struggling with your mental health, like maybe you have some depression or something, any mental health issue, talk. The number one tool I recommend is talk to somebody. And when I say talk to somebody, I don't just mean anybody, especially not the friend, Tina that goes gossiping to Lisa and Carrie and all of them. I'm just making up names. I don't actually have friends with those names, I don't think. But don't talk to Tina, who's the town gossip, right? Talk to somebody who you trust. Talk to somebody who you know is going to be supportive and loves you. Like, that's very important. Talk to somebody who loves you, because they're going to be more understanding and supportive of you. And talk to someone you love and trust. That's essentially it. And then you can also obviously talk to a therapist. So I recommend, if you can't afford therapy, you need to be talking to people, because when you don't talk about it, it gets stuck in your head. It gets stuck, like trapped in your brain. And then when it's stuck, it radiates, and that's when you start experiencing more of the physical symptoms. When you don't talk about it and don't release it, that's when it starts getting worse. So I highly recommend talking to somebody. The next tool I have for you is something I personally use every day as well. So this is more of a preventative tool, but it can also be used in the moment. And that is a daily gratitude journal and or a daily prayer journal. I actually have both. I have a journal where I do five simple little things that I'm grateful for every day. So do a daily gratitude journal. I would say at least write down 3 things that you're grateful for, and I would try to focus on small things. Like, obviously you can be grateful for a house, your spouse, your kids, your job, like all that. That's great to be grateful for that. I'm not saying don't be grateful for that. You should definitely be grateful for that, but I'm saying try to find the small things to be grateful for, because when you are grateful for the small things, it makes you appreciate life so much more. So like today, one of the things I was grateful for was getting my work done yesterday. The birds chirping in the morning. Can't remember all of them, but those are 2 examples. A nice cup of coffee, like just be grateful for, your favorite coffee or whatever. Be grateful that you heard a funny joke that day or something, or the day before, like just the little things, be grateful for them. So do a daily gratitude. I would say 3 to 10 things you're grateful for every day. Like 5 is a good medium number, but at least 3. And I wouldn't say do more than 10, because that just takes a lot of time. And when you go over that, like the effect isn't greater, really. Okay. So sorry, I have a low internet connection. We're almost done. So along with the gratitude journal, you can do and or a prayer journal. I actually do gratitude and prayer, because like I said earlier, I'm doing 100 days to brave. So that's my devotional. And then I have a prayer journal where I write down my prayer for the day. Today, my prayer was about my dreams coming true. But prayer, it's kind of the same thing as when you're doing gratitude. Try to focus in and hone in on the small things that you want to pray for. And try to just make it a few things. Stick to a few things. And that's what I recommend for gratitude and prayer journal. So do those things on a daily basis. Just like yesterday I said, meditate daily, move your body daily, and then do a gratitude or prayer journal daily. Those 3 things, if you can just do those 3 things, so combine, if you only do like about 20 minutes of movement, the meditation and the gratitude can be about 10-15 minutes. So less than an hour a day, like 45 minutes a day, is going to change your life. Like, it is going, trust me, like just do those 3 things and you will see major changes. I promise. Like, these are things I've been doing for years. I'm not telling you, I haven't been doing this for a month and been like, oh, it's great, my life is great. No, that's not it. You need to do these every day for years. And you might not, you definitely will notice a change in your attitude and stuff, like little by little on, within a few weeks or a month or so. But you're going to see the major changes if you do it for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year, 2 years. Like, you just have to keep doing it. And once it becomes a habit, it's easy to do, right? So anyway, so that's what I recommend. All right, to wrap this up, we're at 25 minutes, so we'll do our affirmations. I'm going to say you are, and then I'm going to say I am, and you repeat after me. So you are doing the best you can. You are stronger than you think. You make room for peace in your life. Your anxiety does not control your life. You focus on the positive. Okay, now let's say I am. I'll pause for each of them. We'll do it twice. Okay? I am doing the best I can. I am stronger than I think. I make room for peace in my life. My anxiety does not control my life. I focus on the positive. Deep breath. Whew. Really feel those, all right? Embrace those affirmations. Let's do it one more time, okay? I am doing the best I can. I am stronger than I think. I make room for peace in my life. My anxiety does not control my life. I focus on the positive. I focus on the positive. All right, so just our end quote. I'll say it real quick. It's from Robert Tew. I'm not really sure what he's written, but he's an author of some sort. But he says, trust yourself. You've survived a lot, and you'll survive whatever is coming. So remember that. When you have anxiety, it's going to be okay. You're going to get through this. You are more than your current situation. Trust yourself. You survived a lot, and you'll survive whatever is coming. You will. You will survive. I promise you. As bad as anxiety gets, it is not going to kill you. It might make you really sick. It might make you feel terrible. It might prevent you from doing all the things you want to do in your life, but it's not going to kill you. I promise. Anxiety will not kill you. I will not let it. No, I'm just kidding. Do those affirmations, please. Repeat them and feel them. Embrace them, because it's going to help you. I promise. All right. So I hope this was helpful. I love you guys. Your anxiety is not controlling your life. You can overcome it, and you will feel better eventually. Trust yourself. You survived a lot. You'll survive whatever is coming. All right. Have a great day.